Hi, this is Donna from Clever Crafting. Thank you for joining me today. So we are using the Paint Splash Card Makers kit today to create this lovely design by Marion, which is a diagonal fun fold card. The flowers are from the die that comes in the kit, and this beautiful embossed card is also in the kit. Right, let's get started. We're going to start with an A4 piece of cardstock. So this will make 2 card bases. I'm using a 350 GSM card. Firstly, we're going to score the piece along the long edge at the A5 mark, which is 14.8 centimetres. I only have a small scoreboard in centimetres, so I go down as far as I can, then I simply slip the cardstock up and continue scoring. Turn the card to have the short edge at the top and score at the A6 mark, which is 10.5 centimetres. So this time I chose to turn the card around, which works as well as sliding it up, whichever suits you best. These score lines are going to help us when we're folding the card. The plan here is to draw a line from one corner to the other going through the centre of the card. We're going to cut along this line, but it's too long for most paper trimmers actually, so this is the easiest way to go about it. It's actually even too long for my ruler, so I need to draw the line in 2 parts. So I'm going to go to the centre first and then down to the other corner. All we need to do then is grab some scissors and cut along the line. So I like to use a long pair of scissors for this, as it really helps cut the line cleanly. Look at me shaking, it's bad enough as it is. So while I'm doing this, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of our supporters who have subscribed and join us all of the time, and ask that if you are new to this channel and you're learning something today, that you consider subscribing as well. As I'm sure you're all aware, all of these things help us build our little channel. So I'm just going to erase that pencil line and follow the score lines to fold our card. It's a good idea to use your bone folder if you have one to really burnish those folds so they are nice and crisp. As you can see, I'm doing right there. Also use the center line there to help fold it. So look at that, and voila, we have our first card base, and we're going to do the same and have a second card base. So the next thing that we're going to do is cut our matte layer. Yep, there's our 2 card bases. So you need to start with a piece that is 10 centimetres by 14.3 centimetres. I've used that lovely embossed card, you can see. So this is actually 0.5 centimetre smaller than our card base and will give us a small edge all around the sides. It is important to make sure that you cut the matte layer the same way as the front of the card. This beautiful piece of embossed cardstock that comes in the kit is single-sided, so it's doubly important to get it right. The opening of my card base goes from the upper right hand corner to the lower left hand corner, so we cut the matte layer the same way. Simply put it in your trimmer. I'm using my Tim Holtz trimmer, with the upper right hand corner on the cutting edge, and line up the lower left hand corner to also be on the cutting edge, and it'll work out perfectly. So let's get the Smart Art glue out and put a small amount around the edges and stick our matte layer onto our card base. As I mentioned, you will end up with a lovely small border around the edges of the matte layer. I just love this look. It's really just spot on. I'm using a greeting from the free Valentine's Day download from our last video. I will put a link of that in the description box below, but I also want to jazz it up a bit. So I grabbed a piece of scrap card, you can see that I've got there, and put down some colour with using my Simon Hurley inks. I used a pink, a yellow and a blue, and when I mixed it up I end up with all of the colours, orange and green and purple when they're all mixed up. You can in actual fact use any inks for this, and any type of blending tool will work as well. I decided to do it this way because I used these particular colours for my flowers, so it really helps to keep it all cohesive. That definitely looks like a hot mess right there, but once we line it all up and put it over, it's going to look nice. I'm just holding my greeting over the top of that blending, and I'm cutting around the edge. Once again, I'm using my long scissors to help me keep the edges straight. So just to add a little more pizzazz to my greeting, I cut a couple of pieces from an old cereal box. This is my faux foam tape, and stick them together on the back of the greeting, and then stuck that onto my coloured piece. Here's a closer look. Subtle, but it's really nice. Alright, to attach it to your card, start by putting it in place, into the place you want it to be, and this will give you an idea of where to put your glue. You only want to glue the greeting to one side of the card opening. So I just use my fingers as a guide, but you could mark the edges with a pencil if you prefer, if you're worried about lining it up. Of course, now we get to my favourite part, which is adding all of the ephemera and decorating on the front of the card. I made up these flowers earlier. There's also a small clip on our Facebook group on how I did that. I'll put a link in the description box. And I also have put a box of greenery. I have a box of greenery on my desk. So I tend to use a bit of greenery. So whenever I'm cutting some, I cut extra to put in this little Chinese takeaway box. Anyway, I have cut most of this out, as I honestly spent a good 20 to 30 minutes deciding what I wanted, which is the longest part of every card that I make. I always overthink it, but anyway, all I do is just put a small dab of glue on the bottom of my flowers, and then when they are positioned, I add the smaller pieces of greenery around them. So I finished the front, and then I put a small flower on the inside with a little bit of greenery as well. This card does fit into a standard C5 envelope, but I wanted to make it all match, so I'm just going to glue this small flower and this leaf on the back of the envelope as well. I think this is a lovely little touch, especially if you're making a set of cards to give as a gift. It's just something extra. Classy is the word that I would use for that. So there we are, we're all done. You can see that this fits perfectly in our envelope. If you would like to see other examples of this card, pop on over to our Facebook group page and you can see some cards made by those who join our online classes. I will also put links in the description box below to the materials list for today's card and for the card makers kit that I have used, that's if there's any left. Once again, thank you so very much for joining me. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like down the bottom. And until next time, stay safe and happy crafting.